afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me here today, for the invitation. Funny joke, kind of. They called me and said, Koana is looking for you, Koana, and that sounded like Moana. I don't know who was looking for me. In Spanish would be Kiwani. And so I'm like, oh, Kiwanis. So if you hear my accent, Spanish is my first language, so if you don't understand something that I say or sounds funny, that's why. If I speak too soft, please let me know, raise your hand so I can project. I'm usually soft-spoken, but I'm happy to be here, and especially your cheerful, thankful camaraderie, and the service that you do is very inspiring. So thank you so much for having me. So I wanted to talk a little bit, am I on the way? Okay. About myself and my history. I am myself an immigrant. I moved to this country 25 years ago, a little bit more over than that, from Colombia, South America. I went to school there as an industrial designer, and now I'm doing social work. Somewhere in between, I came here as an exchange student for my senior year in Central California, and then went back to school in Colombia for industrial design. That was the 90s, and so my country was very, very difficult then with the drug war. So there were no opportunities for my generation. The year that I left Colombia in 1999, 1.8 million people left. So basically everyone who was in my generation who had the opportunity to flee the country did. That means that my country lost a lot of people that later would be in government positions, leading positions, business people. So I have friends all over the world, really. My sister lives here in Oregon as well. My parents are visiting for a long time until February, also because right now my country is not doing very well politically. So they are green card holders right now, so the immigration system works. And I think you're very interested in what, I'm going to share here of what we do with that segment of the population who struggles with their status and how they come here and all that. So enough about me. I'm going to present to you my organization. I've been working for them 10 months now. It's I'm the new executive director, the first Latina woman to lead the organization, and I'm very proud of the work because, like you guys, is service, right? So we're there for the families, for stability, for those kids that are growing up here in our region, and to make them have a better life in our community. This is our mission. So we empower Latina families to thrive by creating opportunities for advancement and building bridges that unite and strengthen our communities. Right now, thriving is hard for our families. We're helping them survive in some situations because they're challenged by some decisions that they have made in their paths, but we're connecting them to services, to legal immigration, consultations, advice. We're helping them navigate that system. If there is a detention, if they're removed from the community, from their families, where do they go? If they have to go do their immigration check-ins, all those sorts of things is basically what we're focusing on right now, without forgetting that we're a wraparound service organization. So we also help them with anything they need to be able to survive and thrive in the community. And we've been doing this work for 25 years. This is our team. So as you can see, well, it's all women right here. The men didn't show up for the picture. But there are three of them, three men, and we all represent the community we serve. We're all bilingual and bicultural or multicultural. There's representation from several countries here, Mexico, Guatemala, Colombia, and the US. I don't know if you know Mary, but she's been with the organization for 9 years. She's like our rock right now. A little bit of the history. It all started with Father Mike Walsh. Before 2000, he's a Catholic priest. He's since passed away, but he He started because he saw this need in the community to help Latina immigrant families that were here in Central Oregon. By then, probably not as numerous, but they were part of the congregation. So there were needs as like little kids going to new schools, learning a new language, their parents not being bilingual, and he created basically a hotline. And so any issue that they had with how they navigated community, they would call Father Mike. And he had one volunteer, Manuel Lopez, and then there were 5 moms that were the moms of these kids, and they would sell tamales at the end of the service to get money to get these kids going into integrating themselves into the community. There's a couple of kids from that batch of people that are still in the community. I don't know if you know from San Charles, Carlos Salcido, but he's one of them. That his mom was one of those volunteers. So that shows how 25 years goes through generations, and we're here to make community and stay, right? So there were different important dates here. In 2006, Latino Community Association, which was before El Programa de Ayuda, the help program, became a 501c3 organization, which is known now as the Latino Community Association. And they hired their first permanent executive director, Brad Porterfield. Some of you may know him because he served in the organization for 17 years. And then during that period of time, we had a good expansion. We grew up to cover all three counties, Bend, Redmond, Madras, and Prineville. Also, COVID brought some large need in the community, but also brought money to sustain that need and help families navigate the pandemic. And that's when we really got stronger in the community. Then we also became an accredited organization by the Department of Justice to be able to offer immigration services. And that is huge because we only have 3 immigration attorneys or offices here in Central Oregon with thousands of cases, right? So the fact that we created our own immigration department, now we have 2 legal practitioners, an accredited rep, and 2 paralegals working in-house is huge help for our families. And then the last 3 years, as Brad moved on, there was interim leadership, co-leadership model with Mary Murphy and Daniel Altamirano. I don't know if you also know him. He's from Redmond, and he's done a great job for the community. And they were the ones building the structure that I inherited 10 months ago. So this is where we are, and I'm very proud to be part of the organization. We've done a lot of work throughout the years, and especially now we're helping families and children get ahead. Like I said, we are in the 3 counties, and these are our offices. And especially this year, when we moved into this building that had been the Red Cross building in Bend for a long time, and then became Ability 3. And then we moved in 2020, and we purchased it this year in May. So that was my first assignment. I had to purchase the building. We're paying a mortgage, but it's still cheaper than the rent that we were paying with all the costs and all that. So we're very proud. It's our first owned office, and it's also a community center. We have a community room, maybe as big as this one, where community meets not only for classes and the services that we offer. The Red Cross goes back there and does trainings and blood drives and all that. But we also, it's a community center where they do quinceañeras, baptisms, celebrations, so it's really a community hub, our building in Bend. A little bit of information about who we serve or who we are here in Central Oregon. Sorry for the tiny print, but I'll just let you know that Jefferson County has about 22% of Latino families. It's the largest county with more of us living here. The Chutes is about 10%, and then Crook about 8%. But these are numbers based on the Central Oregon Health data of May of 2025. So they're pretty recent. Of that, one thing that I always like to tell is the story of there are about 30,000 Latinx families, which has been increasing by 43% since 2018. So there's a lot more migration lately. But of those, only 50% are foreign-born like me. A lot of our community are born here in Central Oregon. We have large families, right? 3 to 5 kids. We're also multi-generational families, and we take care of each other. But that's an interesting data when it talks about immigration, right? Who really here is not from here or born here, but what percentage of that is really undocumented? So there is a number that I'm going to throw out there. I don't know for sure. I found it in data that said about 1,000 people in Central Oregon are undocumented immigrants. That just gives you a perspective because we serve the entire community, not only those struggling with their immigration status. And here's a little bit of the economics, because we know that when families are healthy, they have jobs, they have housing, then the whole economy thrives, right? So based on 4.3 million Oregonians, about 10% are immigrants in the state. So when I move the numbers and try to find the same type of data for our Central Oregon community of 267,000 with the 4,500 Latina immigrants, it's about 2% of that entire population. That is the immigrant population, not the people born here, right? But combined, we have a spending power of $159 million, and we contribute $62 million in taxes. So we're contributing to the economy of Central Oregon, and we want to keep it this way. At least for our families, we want them to be able to be connected to services, and so they can work here, live here, play here like everyone else does. Where are we? Farming, of course, is one big percentage. Hospitality, so all the hotels, landscaping, golf courses, maintenance, restaurants, cooks, is the other big industry. Waste management, manufacturing, and construction. So that's mainly where we are right now, but you can see also that there are a lot of us that are entrepreneurs. So small business ownership it's a big, big number for Latino families and Latino businesses. A little bit of something that I've been working on with other economic groups is to maybe put behind their heads on how important it is not to think only about Central Oregon as the hub of innovation if we cannot support small businesses that support that innovation trend, right? So who's gonna support the services to become that innovation community that we wanna build? Now, who are the clients that we serve? And the highlight, it was just like, sorry about that. I had house in my mind. I work a lot with the housing needs, but thinking about families of more than 3 children, we're a younger population than the average white American population in Central Oregon. We're small business owners and independent contractors, low health insurance enrollment. As I said, well, there's a lot of stigma about being sick in our culture. We don't like to admit it, so we don't like to go see a doctor. We take care of our own, even though there's healthcare connections that we make through the organization. But typically, let's say we don't want to charge the system, which is another myth that there is there, right? So in Deschutes County also, we're more renters than homeowners, and that's just systematic. When you're new to the country, you have no credit. So it takes a long time to get to that level of financial education to know how important building credit is, owning money, put money in a bank. All of those things, we don't know the system really well. So Latino Community Association works with the families to teach them how important it is to get in those systems to get ahead. Also, Spanish is not our only language. There are 5 dialects spoken here in Central Oregon, indigenous, native, Mesoamerican languages. I only speak Colombian Spanish, but we do have interpreters once in a while that can offer the services in other languages. Technology access and workforce support. That one means not everybody, especially in rural Oregon, has access to technology. We facilitate that. So we offer those services, connection to computer classes, how to work within the Google Workspace, English classes to people to get ready for job applications, or just making it ahead, right, going ahead in the pathway to sustainability, which is what is important. And then one big, as I mentioned before, low credit or bad credit scores sets us behind in accessing some of the services. So we work closely with Neighbor Impact, Mid-Oregon Credit Union, On Point, all the credit unions offering those services as education. So as you can see, we really just work to connect families to the infrastructure that is already here. We want to make sure that they access it as everybody else. So these are the teams that work at LCA. Family empowerment are the people that are the client services, the case managers, those that help people that are walk-ins that have an urgent need and just need something from, I need a place to live, I need transportation, I need food. So we connect them to those organizations that already have those programs and help them navigate those systems. Healthy families, specifically connecting families with Oregon Health program, signing people into health coverage, and navigating the system, getting into enrollment, making appointments with their doctors, making sure that they have transportation to show up. So improving their quality of life in a way. Workforce empowerment is one that we are trying to develop more and more because of the small business needs. Which, getting a permit, for example, which everybody has to do, but it could be challenging if you really don't speak the language or can't fill out a form or don't know how to use a QR code to get somewhere. So we have people trained to help them navigate also the workforce and provide those classes that they need, as are English and computers and financial classes and things like that. Youth Rising focuses on the cultural experience of being an immigrant here in Central Oregon, but we are relaunching the program, hopefully next summer, to include some civic engagement. We believe that the earlier they know how to be part of our civics rules and legislation, they'll have their own voice for the future. So we dream of a community that is representative in the legislation years from now, maybe becoming a 501c4 in the future, so that our people can be represented in Salem as well. Community engagement. These are activities that we bring together we have especially like a senior club, Tri-County also, that it helps older adults with isolation, and they create their own support group, and we travel along the region doing different programs for them, as well as Latino Fest that you maybe know was canceled this year. But all of these different community activities that we do around the many cultures that we represent. And then, of course, immigration and advocacy, which I already explained, became a very strong team and department and pillar of our work today. These are some of the services that immigration works with. These are all different processes where people are applying for visas, and we help them navigate those processes so that they can hopefully one day be in the path to naturalization. And this would be like what typically we do with volunteers and groups. So anywhere from classes, convening, community, Latino Fest, clinics. We did this summer during the summer, I know it was September. We were riding from Latino business to Latino business in Bend and eating some like Latino foods and stuff. That was really fun. Of course, the classes. So food drives. This is basically what we do Anytime you come to Latino Community Association, any office to visit, then we're busy doing something else. So it is because of volunteers and all the service like you guys do for other organizations. And I invite you to, if you're curious, to bring a group and do something with us. We have 4 offices where we can for sure plan something around that. So yeah, if you're curious about volunteering, Daisy is our volunteer coordinator. And that's all in our website too, but you're welcome to scan the code. And we also welcome a donation. We're having our luncheon a week or so from now on the 12th. It's sold out in 2 days. Oh, wow. So yeah, before we could advertise anything, it's a good sign of community support, and I really, really have been so lucky. This is my first year as an executive director, and with the organization that is so big, to have community support has been unbelievable, the amount of people who said, how can we help? So thank you for the invitation. I really, really appreciate the chance that you give me to present to you what the organization is all about.
I have a question.
Yes.
I sponsored somebody to go through the immigration process. They're from Australia. Anyway, it was a $7,000 legal bill. So you, plus 2 trips to Portland, I believe, to go talk to the suits in the immigration building. So is there ways that you help people in the community to get around that $7,000 bill?
Great question. Yes, all of our services don't cost anything to the public. Now, the immigration part, there is an organization called ECO, Equity Corp of Oregon, that finances that operation. So they pay us a fee for the services that we provide. But these families do have to qualify in an income bracket, right? So all of our services, because they're financed somehow or another by a state program, you have to qualify, be within an income, maybe 60% of the area median income, 80% of the area median income, but we don't charge for anything. Yes?
Do you know of any ICE presence in Central Oregon?
Yes, not right now, as frequent. But that happens every day on the other side of the mountains. So we know that around Portland, Salem, Eugene, all of that area, it's more frequent. The last time we had heavy presence was the first 2 weeks of June. They were here, but they've been here looking for particular cases, individual cases. It hasn't been like a whole raid or where you see a lot of operation going on. As of like, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago is the last time that we heard that they were here looking for a particular person, which they need to have a warrant with a date no older than 2 weeks, and to have their name on it so that they're being taken maybe because they extended their stay or there is some file that against them, but it hasn't been as hard as we hear from the other side of the mountains.
Is that part of your advocacy program to help these people?
Well, the advocacy, it's more about how to, if that happens, if a detention happens, how do we make sure that they're identified by their alien number, because often we don't get that information, so the family doesn't know where their relative went. So part of the advocacy that we do is teach people to always carry their ID, their alien number with them, make sure that they're going to their immigration checks, so we have to remind people to show up. And then if they're detained and if we have that A number, that alien number, we can trace them in the system and notify the family where they're at. Because the hardest part is when they're removed and they get lost. So there could be 2-3 days where they're nowhere, and then maybe they're here in Tacoma, it's our closest ICE center, but sometimes they've been sent to Louisiana, for example, and the family is left without usually their main income earner. And so for us, the advocacy is, one, teach the families what to do in case of, what can you say, not to say, not to get in the middle. You can't confront the law. As federal officers, you have to let the process be. But our advocacy too is, how can we fight for just dignity? Treat a human being with dignity throughout the process. Immigration law doesn't have that, you have the right to remain silent and call your lawyer. We don't have that right as immigrants. So it's like, okay, if you have your A number with you, we can trace you in the system and we can let your family know where you are. Get medications that you didn't get to take with you. So that's part of how we handle the cases, just fighting for human, a more humane way of applying the law.
Parting gift for you.
Hi.
Can you stay and answer other questions if people have them?
I can, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Go.
We like to take pictures.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.